Julia, for such a nice introduction, and really, really nice to, I say see you all. I can't actually see you right now, but very nice to be with all of you right now. I'm really excited to be able to talk about an approach that's very, very close to my heart, which is talking with voices, which is a relational approach to working with voices. But just as a brief word of introduction, my name is Alison Brunitsky, and I am a research psychologist at the University of Manchester up in the north of England. And I am a very proud voice here. I'll be sharing a little bit about my personal experiences in this talk, but suffice to say at the moment that I was not always a proud voice here. My journey as a voice here has been, like many people who hear voices, one that's been riddled with a lot of trials and tribulations, and I am very fortunate that an approach like talking with voices for me was actually really transformative in my life, and it's a real honor and privilege to be able to dedicate now so much of my professional life to supporting this kind of approach to working with voices. So I'll leave it there for now and turn it over to Dirk to introduce himself. And sorry, Dirk, I'm in charge of the slides and I'm already on the wrong slide, on slide number 1.
Okay, I'll start, Alison. My name is Dirk Korstens and I work as a psychiatrist and psychotherapist. I always add in a private practice, and I have a lot of experience in mental health institutes, mostly in social psychiatry. And since 1992, I worked with Marius Rom and Sandra Escher, and we organized a lot of things. This year, our completely revised Making Sense of Hearing Voices will come out in English. It's already in Dutch, and I'm very curious what the English-speaking people will do with it. I'm very glad that Alison is here. Indeed, next generation, maybe second next generation. I realized that we differ more than 40 years in age, which I'm very proud of, because that means that our approach is also brought further by young people. And Alison just got her PhD on hearing voices groups, which is a very interesting research, and I'm sure we will hear more about you in the future.
Thanks, Dirk.
Can you do,
Yes, just a brief overview of what we're going to cover today. So to start us off, Dirk is going to go through a recent example of someone who he's worked with who has really benefited from this relational approach to voice hearing. And then I'll share a little bit of my personal experience. As Dirk said, or sorry, as Leah said, talking with voices and dialogical approaches to voice hearing have existed for many, many years and have been practiced by many people. But then we're going to transition into the more current academic side of things and look at the current research that Dirk and I are both a part of in the UK, looking specifically at this approach and how it can be hopefully applied in clinical settings. So we'll go through the background, the overview of what we're doing and the clinical approach, and look a bit at the theory that's underpinning the work that we're currently doing, and then turn back to have more of an emphasis again on the sort of clinical side and walk through another example of someone who has participated in the trial with Dirk and I several years ago. So, start an introduction. So, Dirk, I'll hand it back over to you.
Yeah, I first want to say why we are here, because I saw a webinar called Talking with Voices. And that was a webinar about the avatar approach. And it made me angry, because I think avatar is not talking with voices, but talking to voices. So I approached the people of ISPS-US about that, and I immediately was invited to do this talk. So thank you for to the avatar people. But I think talking to voices is really different from talking with voices. In our approach, we see voices as messengers that can contain important messages, and they are mostly related to life circumstances, and we try to find out what the meaning is of the voices, and we talk with the voices. We have conversations with them, and often these voices transform in a two voices that are much more supportive and helpful, and therefore perhaps the first case presentation. Clara was referred to me by a psychiatrist who wanted my opinion about something that he found very difficult. He referred her to a statutory hearing voices group in the hospital. And when she arrived there, she carried a knife. And that made everybody very afraid of her, what could happen with the knife. So most people saw that as a sign, a symptom of aggression or possible threat. For me, I saw someone who needed protection. So it's very important to, in the perspective you take in regard to what people show. So Clara, it's not her real name, and the voices are called differently, so you will not recognize her. Is 55 years, married, and has one adult child who doesn't live at home anymore. And she is in mental health since 25 years, has several diagnoses, bipolar, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, borderline, name it, except dissociative disorder. She has a lot of medication, and she had in the past several admissions. It was difficult to make an appointment with her. I visited her at home because she was very anxious about me talking with her. But when after this first home visit, I could invite her in the private practice and we could work very easily. So she heard since her 17th three voices: lion, a male voice. She heard that voice every day. This lion voice gave severe commands like jump off a roof, etc., was yelling all the time and telling her names. The second voice we call Rita. This voice was not that malicious as lion, but was always talking about sex and making comments to how she looked. The third voice was the screamer. That voice was only yelling and only at certain moments. Okay, next slide, Alison. When we talked, there appeared to be a very clear relationship with neglect and abuse when she was young. And her psychiatrist knew her for 20 years, and he knew of this history, but he didn't make a relationship with the symptoms or the complaints. And it was very clear that her parents, were not able to be parents, apart from other things. When she understood that her voices were related to her actual parents, who didn't live anymore, of course, then Clara started to talk differently with her voices. She didn't discuss anymore, didn't argue with them anymore. And for her, it was very important that she wasn't afraid of the voices anymore after 30 odd or 40 years almost. I had only 2 conversations with the 2 first voices, Lion and Rita, and she started to have conversations with them a few times a week, not every day, because that was too much. But she discovered that the voices changed in attitude, and she discovered, and we together discovered, that their intention was to protect her. Next slide. And of course, this doesn't happen very often, that change is so enormously, but in 2 months, the voices of Lions Prima disappeared, and the voices Rita became much milder and supportive, but still critical in a more supportive sense. And she started to hear 2 new voices with biblical names, and that also had a relationship with her past. And these new voices were very supportive, are very supportive and caring voices. And now she is tapering down the medication, and I will meet her Friday after 4 weeks of holiday, and I'm very curious about how she is doing. But I suppose she is doing very well.